Hello viewers, welcome to the series on lipids. In my previous lecture on lipids, I had discussed the classification of lipids, and you are very well aware that lipids can be classified on the basis of their chemical composition, then what are the constituents of on the basis of fatty acids, as to what kind of fatty acids or what are the fatty acids which are present in lipids, on the basis of our requirement and on the basis of sources. So we know that on the basis of chemical composition, lipids can be classified into three main groups, that is simple lipids, compound lipids and derived lipids. I had explained simple lipids, compound lipids and derived lipids in details in my previous lecture, and we had started with the discussion on fats and oils, which are esters of fatty acids and glycerol, that is, they are triglycerides and they come under simple lipids. So picking up the thread from there, let us now discuss another interesting category of simple lipids, that is waxes. So fats and oils and waxes are examples of simple lipids. What is the difference between the two? The difference between the two is the difference in the alcohol part of the fats and waxes. In fats, the alcohol is glycerol. Glycerol is a trihydroxy alcohol, that is, it is propane 1,2,3-triol. Whereas waxes are made up of fatty acids and long chain aliphatic alcohols. That means the difference is in the alcohol part, that is in waxes the alcohols are long chain aliphatic alcohols, that is fatty alcohols, and in glycerol the alcohol is 1,2,3-propane triol. And the alcohol part of waxes has 12 to 32 carbon atoms, that is, it is a long chain aliphatic monohydric primary alcohol, whereas in fats and esters the alcohol was trihydric, that is, it was glycerol. Now the question arises, where are the waxes found in nature? We know beeswax is an example of an wax, and then the bird's feathers are covered with waxes. You're very familiar with beeswax. That is, the honeycomb is made up of beeswax. Beeswax is secreted by abdominal glands of worker bees to make honeycombs. And these honeycombs have cells for storing honey and eggs. And what is this beeswax made up of? It is an ester of palmitic acid and hexacosanol fatty acid. Now, what is palmitic acid? You have to remember, palmitic acid is a saturated acid which has 16 carbon atoms in it. And when we talk of hexacosanol, I'm sure you're a little confused as to what is hexacosanol. You know, when we talk of naming, basic naming, we know cosane is a molecule of alkane, that is, it is a saturated hydrocarbon which has 20 carbon atoms in it. So when we talk of cosane, we are talking of a molecule having 20 carbons, and cosanol, that means it's a derivative of alkane, so it has an alcoholic group. And when we say hexacosanol, what does it mean? Hexa indicates 6 carbons. So 6 plus 20 comes to 26 carbon atoms. So what is hexacosanol? Hexacosanol is an alcohol. It is a fatty alcohol which has 26 carbon atoms in it. So beeswax is made up of hexacosanol and palmitic acid. And when you look at your screens, you find that honeycomb is a very intricate structure. It looks like some architect has built it beautifully, has constructed it beautifully. It has hexagonal cells which are of equal size, And once these hexagonal cell, this beeswax is processed, it looks something like hexagonal plates, which you can see on the right hand side of the screen, and they are smooth. And the beauty is that this beeswax is used in manufacture of cosmetics like lipsticks, eyebrow pencils and mascara. Not only this, it is also used to make shoe polish. So the bright color or the bright texture of the leather of the shoes is due to the beeswax. Now the second wax that I would like to discuss with you is the Carnauba wax, which is derived from the Brazilian palm. So these, when we talk of which is present in the Brazilian palms, so how is it present there? These waxes are found in nature as coatings on leaves and stems. So it is not only on Carnauba palms. You can even find that the rubber plant which you have in your gardens and with which we are very familiar with is covered with a glazy, shiny coating. So that is, what is that? That is nothing but wax. And the waxes prevent the plants from losing excessive amounts of water through transpiration. That is, they make a covering on the plant, as a result of which stomats are not directly exposed to the atmosphere. So what we find is, so here you can see the Brazilian palm, which is covered with, whose leaves are covered with the Carnauba wax. And since Brazilian palm is also known as Carnauba palm, this wax is known as Carnauba wax. So after processing, this is what the Carnauba wax looks like. Now let us go into what are the uses of Carnauba wax, or before that, what is the chemical constituents present in the Carnauba wax. So Carnauba wax is an ester of triacotinol and fatty acid, which is palmitic acid. So when I am talking of triacotinol, I have explained as to what is cotinol. That means it is having 20 carbons. And when we say tria, that means add another 10 carbons. So the total number of carbons in alcohol triacotinol are 30, along with the primary hydroxyl group, and the fatty acid is the palmitic acid. So it is an ester of palmitic acid and triacotinol, and we can also call it as miseryl palmitate. The ester can be called as miseryl palmitate, and it is again used in cosmetics. That is, it is used in the manufacture of lipstick, eyebrow pencils and mascara. And it is also used to polish floors and automobiles. So once we've put marble stone on our floor. So it's very rough. So after treating it, what we do, we rub it with this wax, that is the Carnauba wax, which gives it the texture, right? The main texture. And then when we talk of the automobiles, sometimes what we find is that our automobiles are very bright, that they are shining because they have been giving the final rubbing with the Carnauba wax. So as you can see on your screens, Carnauba wax is an ester of alcohol, which, as I said, that alcohol is a fatty alcohol which is having 30 carbon atoms in it, and palmitic acid. And what we find, that the reaction takes place between the hydroxyl group of the alcohol and the carboxylic group of the acid. That is, it is an example of nucleophilic acyl substitution, where the alco oxide ion acts as a nucleophile and it attacks the carbonyl carbon, resulting in the formation of ester with the elimination of water molecule. And here on your screens again, you can say that this is the ester linkage which has resulted due to reaction between the H of the alcohol and OH of the carboxylic acid. Now the next wax which is of important and which is very interesting is the spermaceti wax. Spermaceti wax is found in sperm whale. So where is this wax found in sperm whale? It is found in the head cavities and blubber of the sperm whale. It gives buoyancy to whale. Now when I say it gives buoyancy to whale, what is the advantage of this spermatic wax? With the help of this buoyancy, whale can swim hundreds of kilometers. Another very use of this wax is that it helps in echolocation. Now what do I mean by saying echolocation? With the help of this echolocation, whale can hunt its prey. What happens during echolocation? In echolocation, because of the echo, what happens that it amplifies the high frequency sounds, and when it amplifies the high frequency sounds of the prey which is moving, so then the whale can easily locate the prey by following that sound, and it can hunt it down. Not only this, another interesting fact about spermacetic wax is that it is the hardest wax. And when we look into the chemical composition of spermacetic wax, we find that it is made up of cetyl alcohol and palmitic acid. So what is cetyl alcohol? Cetyl alcohol, if we look into the IUPAC name of cetyl alcohol, it is hexadecane 1-ol. That means it will have 16 carbon atoms in it, because decane indicates 10 carbons and hexa indicates 6 carbons. So 6 plus 10 is equal to 16. So the alcohol is having 16 carbon atoms in it. So it is ester of cetyl alcohol and palmitic acid. Now what is the use of this wax? It is used for making candles, lamps, oils and lubricants. Now the next wax which is of importance is the linolin wax. Linolin wax is also called as wool fat. Why is it called as wool fat? Because it is secreted from the cutaneous glands of the fur-bearing animals. As you can see on your screens, we can obtain this wax from the hair of sheep, right? So therefore linolin is known as wool fat. Now what is linolin? Linolin is a complex mixture of high molecular mass lipids, which will include fatty acids, alcohols, sterols, hydroxy acids, diols, and aliphatic esters, one of which the important ester is the stearyl ester. And now this is mostly composed of long chain waxy esters, which make up nearly 97% of the linolin. And along with this, linolin alcohols, linoleic acids and linolin hydrocarbons are also present. Now, what are the uses of linolin? So, but before going for the uses, what happens is that linolin and its many derivatives are extracted from wool. And how are they extracted from wool? They are extracted by scoring. Now what is this scoring? In this, the wool is rubbed with a hard surface. You can say it is rubbed with a hard stone. So when we rub it there, the fibers or the linolin is extracted out. So once we have extracted the linolin, it is converted to value-added products that are generally used extensively in both the personal care. When I talk of personal care here, we are talking of high-value facial products, cosmetics like lip products, and it is also used in healthcare sectors. Till now, we've said that all the waxes that we've talked of beeswax, we've talked of spermicity wax. we've seen that they are used in cosmetics. But when we are talking of lanolin, we are saying that lanolin is also used in cosmetics. But then they are used in high-end cosmetics, which have high value, that is, which are of high quality. Not only this, lanolin is also used in healthcare sectors, that is for preparing medicines. And it is frequently used in protecting baby skin. Right? If a baby has a rash, what do we use? We use lanolin. And often when we have a rough or a cracked skin, what do we apply to that? We apply lanolin. It is not only used in cosmetics and medical products, it is also used commercially in many industrial products like rust proof coatings and lubricants. That is when we are saying that we are making something out of iron and we want, or some other metal, and we want to prevent it from corrosion, say from rust, we coat it with lanolin. And since it is very smooth, it can also be used as a lubricant. Now the last type of the next wax that we are going to discuss is the paraffin wax. See, now a question is normally asked on a paraffin wax, and you're given in a MCQ when you go for your entrance exams. Paraffin wax is a wax made up of glycerol and fatty acids. Paraffin wax is a simple lipid made up of alcohol, long chain alcohol, and a fatty acid. Or we say paraffin wax is made up of hydrocarbons having 20 to 40 carbon atoms, or none of the above. So as the word paraffin indicates no affinity, and we know alkanes are also known as paraffins, so that means paraffin wax is made up of hydrocarbons, high molecular weight hydrocarbons. It does not have a ester functional group. That is how paraffin wax differs from the three waxes that we've discussed so far. Now, paraffin wax is a soft colorless solid derived from petroleum, coal or oil shale that consists of mixture of hydrocarbons which have carbon atoms between 20 to 40. So what is, as you can see on your screens now, the carbon atoms are if 20 to 40 and the hydrogens would be 42 to 82. Here you don't have to mug up the molecular formula. You know the general formula for alkanes is CnH2n plus 2. So if the carbons are 20, that means the hydrogens would be 42. And if carbons are 40, hydrogens would be 82. So from there we can even derive the formula of the paraffin wax. So this is how the paraffin wax looks like after that you've processed. And you must be preparing, I'm sure, candles and diyas at home also during Diwali or other festivals, during Christmas. So what do you find? The wax that you're using there is paraffin wax, and it is nothing but a wax made up of high molecular weight alkanes, and it is used for making wax which can be floating wax, colored candles, floating candles, colored crayons. Not only this, another very important use of paraffin wax is that is it is used in therapy. Where do we use it in therapy? We've often heard that we have aches and pains in our knees, in our hands, say maybe because of rheumatoid, due to arthritis. So what is done, the affected area is soaked or is covered with paraffin wax. The melting point of paraffin wax is 51 to 54 degrees Celsius. That is, it is very hot. So we cannot use it as such. So what do? We mix paraffin wax with mineral oils which lower the melting point to 44 to 45 degrees Celsius, even lower than that. And then the affected area where we are having pain is dipped in that, and I'm sure it must be giving relief. Now the last type of wax which we are going to discuss today is the Airwax. Airwax is also different from all the waxes that we've discussed till now. It is a mixture of phospholipids and esters of cholesterol. So it is a mixture now of complex lipids and derived lipids. It is not a simple lipid. And often we come across that sometimes we say we are hard of hearing, that we are listening little less. And when we go to our ear specialist, after checking, he tells us that there is deposit of wax in our ears. So what is this wax? It is nothing, but it has shed layers of skin. That is, there are some layers of skin, tiny skin particles which are there, and along with that, Earwax is made up of 60% keratin, 12 to 20% saturated and unsaturated long chain fatty acids, alcohols, squalene, and 6 to 9% of cholesterol. So till now we've discussed the different types of waxes, and what do we find from that, or what do we conclude from this discussion? That waxes have 5 wide uses in cosmetic industry, wellness industry, and in manufacture of polishes. This we've seen that if we are talking of beeswax, we are talking of spermicity wax, or we are talking of Linolin, we are using it in cosmetic industry. And when we are talking of Linolin, we find that Linolin can be used in wellness industry as well as in manufacture of polishes. And then we find that in addition to this, there is mega usage of waxes in manufacture of decorative candles and colored crayons, where we are using paraffin wax. So this is what we are using. Where are waxes found? They are found as the covering in the plant leaves. They are found in bees' hives. It is found in the brain of sperm whale, and then we can extract it from paraffins, that is paraffin wax, and then we have Airwax, which find very wide uses, which I have just discussed with you. For this lecture, I had consulted the books by Bruce, McMurray Jones, Finar, Morrison and Boyd, Solomon, Graham and Snyder. In my next lecture, now we shall be discussing the classification and characterization of complex lipids. Thank you.